Hello. For this video, I want to talk about the huge potential of very simple video games to help education. For example, here you have Pitfall 2 for the old computer Commodore 64. And here you have Pitfall: The Last Expedition, made in 2004. As you can see, this version looks more beautiful and it is more complex than this one. And if you want to sell a video game, it's much better to try to develop this kind of video game than this one. But for some reasons, I still prefer this kind of video games because they are very simple. And nowadays, with the computer we have, they are very easy to load. You don't wait anymore. But when you load this kind of video game, you still have to wait. If you have, for example, only 10 minutes to play because you're waiting the bus, in 10 minutes you will have time to play this kind of video games. But this one, you won't really have time because you will have to consider the time to load each level, to load the game. And when you do some actions, for example, choosing weapon and things like that, there's always a kind of a delay because the computer has to load a huge amount of resources, for example, graphics. But with this game, all is done in a fraction of a second. So for education, for an educational video game, from my point of view, waiting is a huge problem. When someone is willing to learn, don't make him wait. If he wants to play the game only for 10 minutes, it has to load as fast as possible. So, and also, with this kind of video games, my imagination works a lot. But not with this one. Because when you see kind of Walt Disney style video games like this, it's not made by Walt Disney, but I call it Walt Disney style because all the thing is done for you, so you don't have to imagine anything. And for me, it's very boring. I don't want to see its face. I want to imagine his face. Okay? And so for the idea of educational video game that I have since many years, I want the player to be able to switch between two modes, game mode and education mode. Once in game mode, you play the video game. It's a normal video game. You have fun. You discover if it's an adventure game, if it is an action game, you play. But when you want to have special upgrades, or more experience, or more money in the game, or special weapons, you can switch to education mode, where you will have, for example, in chemistry, you will have a lot of exercises and a lot of interaction, because with a textbook you cannot interact with the textbook. You're only able to read and try to do some exercises and look at the end of the book to see if the exercise is right or wrong. So you don't have fast feedback of your progress. But if you can interact with the topic, you will get fast feedback. And this is really important for education, to have really fast feedback. And that's a huge problem in education nowadays. because students don't have fast feedback. They sit in classroom listening to the teacher. They do some homeworks. Of course, they can go to a lab and try to do some experiments, but most of the time they are in front of the book or in front of the teacher with a very, very low feedback rate. But with a video game, you can tremendously increase this feedback rate. You can have feedback maybe every second, like in a video game. When you play a video game, you constantly have feedback. For example, if the guy touches the animal, he will get feedback. For example, he will die, and he will have to try to jump again over the hole here. So this is feedback, very important. Okay? And also interest. When you are just reading a textbook and trying to exercise in the textbook, for chemistry for example, most people are not interested. They do it because they have to, because they want the degree, but they are not interested because in their head there is no goal at all. The only goal, yes, there is a goal, to have a degree at the end. But if you put it in a video game, you have short-term goals. For example, in Pitfall 2, the goal is to reach the end of the game, for example. And to reach your goals, you will need special weapons, special abilities, and you will get them in education mode, which will never interfere with the game mode. If you want to play, you just play. If you want to learn, you learn, and you come back when you feel ready to come back, or you go in the education when you feel ready for it. That's why you switch between modes only by the press of a button, because it is fast. You don't have to take your mouse and find the option in the menu. No, just a button. You want to switch, you press the button. So for example, you have the jump button, the button to use your weapon, to switch mode, and for the movement of the character. And when you practice, for example, chemistry, you collect statistics of your performance over time. For example, today maybe you got that score, but you can still see what happened many days before. You can see, for example, last month I was a beginner, so my score was very low. But over time, I made progress. So you become more interested because you can see your progress over time. And when you go to education mode, when you get special objects by reaching a given level of proficiency, for example, you can get an umbrella, which allows you to jump over a cliff. Without the umbrella, you just fall down. But with the umbrella, you can go over the cliff and reach the temple, which is a secret level. So this is a way, and there's a many way to get the player involved and make him interested in playing the game and switching to education mode. So thanks for watching, and I'll make other videos in the future.